Hi, this is the Speakerstack music channel. My name's Ant. This is the 8th video, I think, in a sequence of videos where I'm breaking down how I've created a techno rock song in Ableton. In the previous videos, which you can check out when I've completed a playlist for all of these videos, you'll see that we had a look at assembling a drum kit, breaking that down into individual channels, and also put in a bass synthesizer and a kind of a low mono pad in the previous video. So if you haven't checked those out, please go ahead and check them out. So in this video, we're going to have a look at a couple of techno effects that I've dropped into the song. And these techno effects are going to be on tracks 10, 11 and 12. But there's actually only two effects. So the first effect is on instrument channels 10 and 11, and then the second techno effect is on instrument channel number 12. There's a reason why it's spread across 3 channels, and I'll come to that in a second. But essentially we're just looking at 2 separate techno effects, which hopefully you'll find helpful and useful. You can perhaps create and drop into your own techno tracks, or indeed tracks in any genre that you're actually creating. So one other thing to mention on both of these effects is that I am using third-party plugins for both of the effects. So I'm using a Serum plugin, and I'm also using Cthulhu, the Cthulhu arpeggiator plugin. So you'll see both of those in the breakdown of how I've set the tracks up. I'm just going to give you a quick blast of the song with both of those effects in, starting from, let's start it from this bar here. Cool. Okay, so really love these 2 effects. Really excited to share them, to be honest. I think they make the song what it is. And they were really kind of arrived at by accident, but I think they really add to the song and give it that kind of techno flavour. So what I've done is I've just highlighted a section of the song, which you can do by using these arrows here, and then loop it using this button up here. The first techno effect is on tracks 10 and 11, and I'll just play that again so you get an idea of how that sounds. And then the second techno effect is on track 12, and again I'll just solo that so you can get an idea of how that sounds. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to break down the first techno effect for you on instrument channels 10 and 11. So these are both MIDI channels. In fact, all 3 are MIDI channels. And what we have set up here in order to create it is 2 things. So on channel number 10, we have the Cthulhu arpeggiator plugin, which looks like this. You can also open it out to have both sections of Cthulhu. In this video, we're just going to focus on using Cthulhu to create interesting chord patterns. We'll come back to that in a second. And also there will be a video at the end of this that gives you a kind of a more detailed breakdown of how to use Cthulhu. And then this is the crucial thing with Cthulhu. You need a second instrument channel, which we've also set up here on channel 11. And this has a Serum wavetable synthesizer with a preset already loaded up. And then we have a number of Ableton effects as well in that second channel. So the reason we have split it into 2 channels is because with Cthulhu, you almost need to kind of master slave it. So with Cthulhu, you've got the Cthulhu instrument on channel 10, and then you need to tell Ableton the sound that you want played through Cthulhu on channel 11. So I've used Cthulhu as the arpeggiator to change the sound in an arpeggiated manner, but I've also but in terms of creating the sound, that has actually been created by using Serum and some Ableton effects on channel 11. And the reason you do that is because you can't have two instruments on the same channel, so you must have to kind of tell Cthulhu where to push through to produce the sound. So if you go into the mixer view and then go to, I just forget the channels they're on, channels 10 and 11, which are here, you'll see that actually the channel with Cthulhu on is muted. So there's no sound coming out of Cthulhu. But what we have told Ableton to do is to push the sound from Cthulhu into channel 11. And channel 11 needs to be armed in order to do that. So that's why that is set to record. We're not actually recording anything new into the channel. We just have to set it to record in order to play back that sound from Cthulhu. So Cthulhu is going from channel 10 into 11. In order to do that, you need to go to the MIDI from, and you need to select the channel that you want the MIDI to come from. Or this is the Techno Effect channel, which is channel 10. So we've clicked on that. And then you need to tell it that it's Cthulhu that it's coming from. So you need to select that from the MIDI from section and select Cthulhu 64, which is the plugin. So that's all set up now for Cthulhu to push that sound through to the Techno Effect channel, which is where the actual sound is. So in terms of how we've done it with Cthulhu, I'm just going to go back into channel 10. So I'm going to bring up Cthulhu. This is a multi-purpose arpeggiator. So there is a kind of an ARP section at the top, but there's also a chord section at the bottom. You can actually go in and create, I'm just going to close down the ARP because for the purposes of this sound, I haven't used the ARP section. So if you click on this button here, you just end up with the chords. Now I haven't actually gone in and selected a chord preset. I've just used the Cthulhu raw template sound, and I've gone in and I've just selected some notes to kind of give it a stabby kind of notey feel. And that is it, essentially. Those notes change as you're playing each part of as you're going through the sample. So if we just go back to the section I've highlighted here, I'll just play that again. You'll see how the notes change. Cool, okay, so apologies, I had to actually find the section of music where the notes changed. For these first sections, you're just hovering on that single chord, but then when you come up to this section here, you'll see that it actually changes the notes slightly. Cool, really love that effect. It's kind of a craftworky, orbitally techno effects that you can kind of add into your own techno songs, and I'm really chuffed with it. So that's what you do in terms of the Cthulhu. You can have a play around with these notes and just create your own effects on it. But the crucial thing now really is that you're then pumping those notes through to the second instrument channel, which is the Techno Effect sound that you've got set up, and you'll see there's no notes or any instruction here in terms of MIDI information, because all the MIDI information is on channel 10 and filtering through to channel 11. Channel 11 is all about the sound that you want it to come, you want to create the notes and actually have the notes playing back as. So on channel 11 we have a Serum third-party plugin, and then in the leads, we've gone to the lead section, and I've selected lead Dubril and JD, which is a preset in Serum, which I thought was pretty cool. It created the kind of right kind of sound that I wanted, and that is all I've done with the Serum bit. Literally just dropped in the preset and let it roll. I've also added in an EQ8, again with a low cut high pass filter set at 100 Hertz, just that golden rule of stripping everything out that's not sub bass, bass or kick drum from those lower frequencies. Captured some of the high frequencies up to about 8,000 Hertz, and then had a slight dip at around 1,000 Hertz because we've got a lot of other stuff going on there in that part of the song. That's where a lot of the mid-range instruments are, such as the sequencers, the guitars, etc. Didn't want to have too much in there, so I've dipped it there just to push it back in the mix. Dropped in a compressor just to boost the sound. Haven't done much to that, really. I think I've dropped it in, and these are the actual parameters that you get if you drop a compressor in. And dropped in a chorus, and again just played around with the amount and rate by moving this around just to get the right kind of sound. I mean, you can really see if you start messing around with things like the chorus, you can produce some wild and wacky sounds. But I really just wanted something that wasn't too domineering and needed to be a bit more subtle. So I've got it set up around here. Rate is around 0.38 and the amount is 4.18. And that's essentially how I've done that. And then finally, I've got a reverb effect in again, just to push the sound back in the mix. I haven't messed around with this at all. I don't tend to do that with reverbs. I just tend to mess around with the dry and wet frequency. I've got that set at 23% on the dry and wet. So yeah, that's the first techno sound, which is a kind of an orbitally, craftworky techno effect. Hope you've liked that one. I'm really chuffed with it, love it. I'll be using it again in other songs, and I'm just really excited to kind of share how I set it up. And then for the second techno effect, which is on channel 12, we've got something a little bit different. So with this one, this is almost going for a kind of an ambient echo effect. It almost sounds a bit like a guitar, but it is a synthesizer. So for Techno Effect 2, I have actually used Serum again. In terms of the notes for this, it is just hovering on the G on every on beat. We've got that, and we've also got some delay going on in there just to create that delay effect, as you'll see here. But actually it's just a single note on the beat that we've got on the 1 and 3 until you kind of get a bit further into the song and where it kind of moves up. So let's just play that again. And then we kind of got a third section, which is here. So I wanted to kind of consolidate the sound by going back to the F on those sections, because they're kind of breakdown sections, just to add a bit of variety. And then again, I think that repeats itself at the end. So I've not got either of these sounds running throughout the song. There are sections where one drops in, another drops out. There are sections where neither are in, and there are sections where both are in. And you can really just play around and decide how you want to set your own song up. So that's the second effect that I've used Serum for. If I go into this Serum effect, again, it's another preset. There are loads of presets in Serum. I will do some future tutorials on how you can create your own sounds in Serum, but for the purposes of this song and this tutorial, I just used the presets. They were sounding pretty good, so I went with it. So essentially, this was a sequencer sound. It's called Swinging Saws. So if you go into the sequencer section, click on Swinging Saws, then you can find that sound. And this has just got a Serum on there with not much else done to it. An Ableton EQ8 effect. Again, very similar approach to what we had on the first techno sound. Low cut high pass filter at 100 Hertz, dropping off at around 8,000 Hertz and dipping in the middle around that 1,000 Hertz range. But I've also put a saturator on it, and again just boosted the drive on that. Again, I haven't done much more with that, but just boosted the drive on it to about 4.57 decibels, just being habit. It wasn't anything specific about that, just had to play around and that's what sounded good. And then again, just a delay, and really messed around with the dry and wet parameters and the feedback parameters. Again, I'll do a future video in terms of how you can work with the delay effect, but essentially I wanted a lot of ambience to come back in the delay sound, which is why I've got that, but I didn't want it rolling on forever, so I've rolled the delay and the dry wet section back to 18%. And I've also, in terms of the filter section, just really decreased the width of it, so that again it's not dominating the track. I just wanted to push it back in the mix. And that's it. Those are essentially the two techno effects. I really hope you found that useful. I hope you find that you can find a way of incorporating these into your own songs. Thanks for watching the video, and as I say, if you found it useful, it'd be great if you could smash the like button. It'll help me get these videos out to more people, and maybe consider subscribing to the channel if you are interested in seeing more videos like this, where I break down Ableton tutorials, break down songs I've created. I'm going to be getting Ableton 12 in the next month or two, so I'm really excited to start doing some videos on that. And maybe check out some of the demos that I've done, or some of the Speakerstack music, which is online on Spotify, on Amazon Music, iTunes, YouTube, etc. So all that remains is to say thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the next Speakerstack video.